No, so you see, the deal is the upper part of the wing causes a problem for the air. If I didn't make that clear. Yeah, the air is agitated. Yes, it's agitated that because of this curve on top, it has to move faster to get to the trailing edge. This is the leading edge. If you're watching on the laundry cam, hello everybody, Martin Zender here. This is the leading edge of the wing, and the top part is curved. That seems like an innocent thing to do, but it's a cruel thing to do to the air that has to get to the trailing edge of that airfoil to meet the air coming along easily at the bottom. See, it's straight shot here. We got to go over this curve. We got to go over this curve. How could you do that to us? Well, we did it to you so that you could move faster. Thanks to Mr. Bernoulli, who discovered that the faster air moves, the less pressure. So, pew, pew, it goes faster. It cavorts, I would say. The air cavorts over the hump, over the leading edge, and shoots down at a faster rate than this lazy air down here. It doesn't care. All right, look at the cover of this book again. I know the image is reversed. I still haven't figured that out. Here it is. David McCall, the Wright brothers. And here's, by comparison, my book, First Idiot in Heaven. Now, I think my cover's better. I really do. But I know my content's better. And the discovery is better. And people will say, Martin, you're so bold. You're so full of yourself. I'm not. Watch yourself there, because I'm not. God is full of us. God's full of me. This is why. This is why. You know, I once compared myself to Ronald Reagan. Here you go again, Zender. Hey, listen, hear me out on this. There's a article on my website called what's it called? I'm gonna have to go to my website. Okay, hang on a second. Let me go to my website here, martinzender.com, and you scroll down on the left. It's called The Manifesto. That's it. You go to The Manifesto, and one of the things I say there is I marveled how Ronald Reagan called Soviet Union back in that day when the Cold War was on, called them the evil empire. And of course, that's very politically incorrect to say that about an evil empire. For instance, our government in the United States has outlawed the use of the term radical Islam because we don't want to make them feel bad, like we think they're all radicals. But we can't. Also, the downside is you can't identify your enemy. Call your enemy what it is. Define it. Isolate it and destroy it. This is what Ronald Reagan did with Soviet Union. So I do the same thing with Christianity. And I don't know anybody that does it with the vehemence with which I do it. I call it out. I used to call it Christendom, you know, because the circles I traveled in back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, to describe the apostate religious world naming Christ, they called it Christendom. And they compared that to Christianity. Christianity, you see, was the true, and Christendom was the false. But that just confused things in my mind, because all the people I knew who were believing every doctrine of demon to come down the pike, they were calling themselves Christians. They weren't calling themselves Christendom. What the hell is Christendom anyway? So that term bothered me, so I began to say Christianity and Christians. This created a huge ripple back in the late 80s, early 90s when I started to do this, and I took some flack for it. The same exact thing with calling the Soviet Union the evil empire, or radical Islamic terrorists. And the audacity comes in, I think, when people say, how dare you compare yourself to the President of the United States? And I thought, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not, there's no comparison. Because the President of the United States is piddling. It's small. The scope, it's one of the chiefs of the eon who is being discarded. You're right. This job, my work, our belief, Our expectation is so much bigger than any sort of political office here on earth. Are you kidding me? And so when I compare my book to David McCullough's book, The Wright Brothers, this is a little contraption, this airplane you see on the front. But I could show you a picture of a modern jet, and that is also a little contraption. It goes through the air. Oh boy. And it flies. It was a miracle when we discovered how to do it, but it's insignificant compared to the travel, the spiritual pomposity of what we're doing. Yeah, that's a bad term. The spiritual daring do? No, because we're not daring or anything. The spiritual breakthrough of our calling. Yes, that's what I want to say. The spiritual breakthrough is so much more significant than this little stuff. And it pleases me to say that. It pleases me to say that our calling has it. We got it on the Wright brothers, as great as they are. Love Wilbur and Orville. They're Ohio boys, just like me. Love them. Love Ronald Reagan. Whatever, but, you know, sorry, but we're leaving all you people in the dust. You're the chiefs of this eon. And this stuff's being discarded. Talked to someone recently who thinks that this life is all there is. And that there is no life after this one. And I speak of the next world. I speak of the next great move of God. I speak of the future of glory and of reconciling the world. And the person I'm referring to can't understand that because this world is all there is. And there could be the accusation made that, well, you know, join us here in the real world. Well, look, I'm not denying this is the real world. I know this is the real world. I wake up every day in this world and it's all too real. And so do you. But the thing is, the difference between this world and the next world is this one is passing. This world is passing. And that world is enduring. And Paul talks about this in the book of Hebrews. He says that the Aaronic priesthood, not the ironic priesthood. It is ironic that a priesthood that would be the go-betweens between God and man would fail and actually turn people from God. Anyway, forget about that. That priesthood, according to Aaron, was a passing priesthood. It's going to give way to another order of priests because the priests, according to Aaron, were humans, mortal humans, and they died. And they kept passing on their priesthoodness to other priests. And that was inconvenient to have high priests continue to die, sacrifices continue to be made. But, oh, my friends, Jesus Christ became a priest. This is all Israel stuff, so don't get excited. Jesus Christ became a priest of another order, of a lasting and enduring order. Just the look at life today. Nothing endures. They say you have to make friends with change because the only thing sure to stay the same is change. It's another irony. It's a joke. It's a dirty joke. I don't like it because change hurts. Just when you get comfortable, something changes. The seasons change. Time changes. Oh, don't I hate that when the time changes. That's ridiculous. Jerk us around, why don't you? Take an hour off, put it here. You're playing time games. Daylight savings time. What are you saving? So, your bank balance changes all the time, doesn't it? Yeah. We have to change our clothes. Change. Moving. New friends. Family members. Come and go. All this change. And this change is shown to us in a practical, metaphoric way by the oceans. The earth is being eroded at the shores and everywhere else for that matter by wind. If you go to places like the Wright brothers went to, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they would go there in 1901 to test their glider, and that was a wind-blown barren land, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And there would be certain formations out there with the dunes, and they would get on top of a dune, test their glider. The next season they would go, the whole landscape would be changed. Why? Because the wind sweeps away. Oh, not to mention their little headquarters. They would build sheds out there. That's right. The epic Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville, lived in dinky little sheds, homemade, home-built sheds. These are Ohio boys. They're very enterprising, but the winds sweep things away. If you live in Tornado Alley in Oklahoma or Texas, parts of Missouri, I suppose, then you know about things being swept away by the elements, by the weather, by the wind, by politics, by bulldozers, mechanical things. I mean, this world, you can't count on it because things disappear in your grasp. That world, oh my gosh, who would not want to put their eggs in the basket of the next world? Because there we begin to see permanence, no shifting sands, no failures, no crashes, no losing friends, losing family, losing your job, losing money. No. That world will be such a comfort because of its permanence. I've told you this verse many times in 1 Corinthians 9. This world is passing by. It's going by the wayside. And therefore, the chief humans of this eon, the great inventors, the great politicians, the great artists, the great movie stars, the great musicians, these people are passing with it. So anyone of reputation in this world now is, and if they have their fortunes tied, that's the key, tied to this eon, then this world, this age, don't be confused if any new people looking on here when I say eon. An eon is a period of time. There are 5 eons in God's program of time. We are living in the 3rd eon. It's an epoch, it's an age, it's a time period. We're living in one that is passing by. It's becoming old. Another word used to describe it, I do like this word, is decrepit. It's like an old man coming through with the cane, you know. And we'll see you later. You know, at New Year's, you see the little baby coming in with the diaper and the old man coming out with the hourglass, and he's got a long white beard. Okay, that's a good analogy, actually. Glad I thought of it. We're looking for permanence. And the 4th eon, that is the kingdom eon, it's quite an improvement on this one in that it is semi-permanent. People are living much longer. The earth is favorably situated again. This nasty, irritating 23-degree angle that we're tilted at is righted. The weather's going to be better. There's going to be instant judgment upon lawbreakers. There won't be criminals running around gloating in their crimes, as I described earlier. I robbed a bank. You should see me rob that thing, man. I got away so quick. No, you ain't going to get away with nothing. You're not going to have time to talk about it because your sorry bank robbing hiney is going to be cast into the Gehenna of fire. So don't try robbing a bank in the kingdom. I'm just saying. So that gives way. That eon gives way. The kingdom eon, great as it is, gives way to the new heavens and a new earth. And the chief characteristic of that new earth is it's a solid chunk of rock. There's no sea upon it. No sea, no ocean. I know what you're thinking. Don't worry about the sea life because they will be transformed. They won't need the water anymore. Some of them can survive a little bit outside the water now, can't they? Yeah. So it's going to be even more permanent. You see, the absence of the sea speaks of that. And there will be no death. Nobody's cast into any sort of incinerator or any sort of capital punishment repository. No, my friends, because it's permanent. But we don't have to wait for any of that after we're snatched away. Jesus Christ comes for us, takes us to be where God is. We don't have to worry about impermanent things anymore. We will have the mind of Christ. We will be made immortal. We are not going to be on the earth anymore. We're going to be among the celestials. And there we will enjoy a permanence, a sureness. And Paul does want us to imitate that now. That's why he says be rooted and grounded in the truth as much as you can. Be settled, immovable, rooted, and grounded in the truth. And if you can somehow imitate that in your living arrangements, then I suggest it, because the distractions are innumerable when you're moving from here to there all the time. I know if you're in the military, certain jobs you have to travel, but that's unfortunate that it's that way, because humans love being settled. They love having a home. They love having some kind of anchor, even if it's a little baby anchor, like my laundry room. Or some people live in tents. The Israelites did. And they moved around in those early days because God was reminding them that this home isn't permanent. So in a way, if you are traveling around, it's a constant reminder that this home is impermanent. But in my thinking, once you have that fact in your head that this world is impermanent, then I think God will graciously grant you some sort of permanence, because you can then not rely on it, not put your trust and your hopes in the fact that I got me a permanent dwelling. Nobody can move it. Oh, come on, give me a break. So you have a nice, look, I have a nice laundry room. It's not going anywhere. Of course, hurricane season's coming up. I'm not afraid. I ain't afraid of no hurricane season. I'm looking forward to the violent storms. I don't want anybody to be washed away. I don't want to be washed away. I don't want to be blown away either. But, I like to see the power of God. And, boy, we're seeing the power of God in the unveiling. More on the Wright brothers. I got some quotes from this book, some rich tidbits that will help you endure your rather impermanent life here on earth. Looking forward to the future.